came in today, and it's spring break, and all the kids from the robotics teams are at AMROC working on their robot because they're getting ready to go to a competition in Miami in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And so they're there on their spring break working on robots, and they've sort of transformed our meeting space in the front into a robotics practice field. So there's tools everywhere and kids everywhere, but they're all working on their own. Like, nobody's telling them to work. We have mentors there who guide them in some of the technical aspects of what they're doing, but they're on their own doing this. Nobody's telling them, go do this. They are self-directed to do it.
That's
and
a creative.
That's empowering.
Hello everyone and welcome to On the Grid. My name is EJ Moreno, and on this show we spotlight people who make the Tampa Bay area better with their work. Our guest today is making the Tampa Bay area better in so many ways. My goodness, Miss Terri, we have so much to talk about. So my guest today is Terri Willingham, the Executive Director of the Foundation for Community-Driven Innovation. What a title you have there.
Thank you. It's just a long name for not for a good nonprofit. FCDI, we can shorten it to FCDI during the conversation.
FCDI, more acronyms, because then we also have, you are representing today AMROC, the Fab Lab.
Right.
Tell me about AMROC.
So AMROC Fab Lab is the Advanced Manufacturing and Robotics Center Fab Lab, and a Fab Lab is part of an international community of capacity building spaces around the world. And it is one of 4 or 5 programs that FCDI supervises and runs. The others are STEM programs for K through 12. We do a Roboticon showcase with all the kids bringing in the robots, and we do Gulf Coast MakerCon, which is coming up in May, and it's a maker festival. So the AMROC Fab Lab is sort of our home base, and it's here at University Mall, and we do all sorts of really cool programs there.
I love what you're able to do with just it's like a home for so many. As a weird creative, a home for weird creatives, and we need that sometimes. I don't think people realize that we don't have that community a lot of the times, and you're a big person of that. But I want to take you back a little bit. I jokingly called you a STEM person before that, and you were like, more of a writer. Then you fell into this. But how did you fall into this world? What called you? Did you want to make our future robots to end our world? Actually,
no, not at all. My son got into robotics, and that was not what pulled us into this. It was around something that we built the program around. But I grew up, just playing in the woods in New Jersey, splitting my time between a rural farm in New Jersey and Miami. And so it was a really big difference, a lot of different cultural influences there. And I was raised by committee by a lot of different family members and friends and teachers. And that experience of being exposed to so many different ideas and an intergenerational upbringing was really powerful for me. And then as our children were growing and getting interested in a lot of different things, we homeschooled them, but I'm not an expert in all the things they wanted to do. And so when they wanted to do something bizarro, I would have to go find somebody who knew that bizarro thing they wanted to learn how to do. And it went everything from taxidermy to robotics, right? And so being able to reach out into the community and find people who had expertise in those things is sort of the concept around which AMROC Fab Lab was developed. It's an intergenerational space with peer-to-peer learning and intergenerational learning, and it's a really powerful experience that we don't have a lot anymore because people don't live in big extended families with grandparents and aunts and uncles too much. Some places they do, but not very commonly anymore. And so AMROC becomes that third place in the community where it's not home, it's not school, it's not work, but you can come there and chill and create things and build things, and it's an experience I enjoyed growing up.
As an artistic, creative kid, I want to say thank you for letting them play like that, but thank you for not mixing taxidermy and the robotics together.
No, we didn't do that.
That would have been haunting.
That would have been awful.
So I've seen enough Stephen King movies to avoid that. But no, I love that you seem to have that passion to do that all together, though. You wanted to do it with your children, and now you're doing it here. But tell me a little bit more about FCDI. Okay. How did you get involved there? How did you become the executive director?
So my husband and I co-founded it with several friends from the robotics community. Our children were all involved in it at the time, and so the nonprofit, I believe, is 10 years old this year. And we started it up around the idea of creating or finding spaces for students and youth to be able to do their programs, because space and venues are always at a premium. And so as a nonprofit, we could now go around and work with different organizations to get space to do things. Ultimately, we ended up with a grant to get our own big field, and now we had to find a place to put the big field. And the idea of AMROC Fab Lab developed. So my husband and I had worked as consultants to Hillsborough County and Pasco County library systems to help people help libraries develop maker spaces within the libraries, because we felt that was a really democratic, experience, access to.
It's the most apolitical place
yeah,
you can
it's like
find.
you can go to the library and they weren't using a lot of the spaces the way they used to, and so creating these maker spaces where they could put in 3D printers and some, hand tools and things like that was a new way to revitalize and reimagine libraries. And so we worked in that field for a few years. And then decided to create our own demonstration space, which is what this is, where people can come in and we do professional development as well for librarians and educators and other people interested in developing these spaces. And so it just kind of came up out of that.
Did you find your house? Was that at one point? Were you the creative space there?
We were. Like the robotics team ran out of the garage for
okay.
years.
You just seemed like that mom, that energy of
and actually a lot of our garage was the start of the Fab Lab when we first moved in. There's like, get those things. We don't need all these extra tools,
That's amazing.
So,
I just love hearing that you have this passion, especially I like that intergenerational. I think we focus on the youths, but they're great. But what about that 30-year-old who didn't know they could do this? Especially in a lot of low income areas, we're not told that playing with robots is a thing you can even do.
Or that you could use a 3D printer, or that you could use a laser cutter, or you could do art in different ways. You can create everything from your own musical instruments, to your own, 21st century 3D-dimensional artworks using modern tools. So we don't get exposed to that. There's no more home ec. There's no more shop. And so we provide a place where people can come in and explore that. And by doing it in this big, welcoming environment, everybody's inspired by everybody else, right? The kids see adults, they talk to adults, they learn what they're doing. The adults learn from the kids on the things that they're having trouble with. So it's really cool.
You said something about that. I would remember talking to my grandmother about TV shows, and she would give me suggestions, and then I would be like, well, then we should watch Buffy. And then that was our middle ground growing up. And I just love that community that you build between those generations. Can you tell me about one of the highlights you feel that you see throughout working here? Something that kind of you walk in and you go, ooh, I love that I get to do this.
I do. I love that. I don't like the administrative stuff that much, let's be honest. But
and no one likes their office job.
I don't like that part. But I love, I came in today, and it's spring break, and all the kids from the robotics teams are at AMROC working on their robot because they're getting ready to go to a competition in Miami in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And so they're there on their spring break working on robots, and they've sort of transformed our meeting space in the front into a robotics practice field. So there's tools everywhere and kids everywhere, but they're all working on their own. Like, nobody's telling them to work. We have mentors there who guide them in some of the technical aspects of what they're doing, but they're on their own doing this. Nobody's telling them, go do this. They are self-directed to do it.
That's a creative.
That's empowering.
That is so good to have. Of like, you're kind of left to your own devices, but you still have somebody being like, well, what if you just do that? Those are so helpful, and I love that you guys have created that space. I'm now talking to you being like, my stepson's 7. Maybe I need to get him to go do that, to come to play, and I love that. Did you ever get to experience of this kind of play yourself, though?
Yeah, I did. I was a feral child. And so I roamed Miami when I was in Miami, and I roamed, I probably should have had more adult supervision, but,
different time.
Totally different time. And I would wander around the fields in New Jersey and in the woods, and if I got bored, my aunt would hand me crates, because she had a produce market. She would hand me crates and a hammer, and I would just disassemble these crates, and then I reassemble the crate, so I ended up with a crate anyway. But I could occupy myself for hours doing that kind of stuff, you know, and I just thought I loved everything. Everything was fascinating to me.
I'm noticing that with my little one. He gets his Nerf guns and mods them and puts other parts of his Nerf guns together to make this one big thing, and I'm like, what are you doing? But I love that you've created a place to do this. Yeah. You also have spent time as a writer. Tell me about being a writer, as I know that was for trade, but tell me about...
and I actually, that was always my goal. I wanted to be a writer, and I worked, I was an English major at FIU. I worked for small papers in Miami. When we moved to, up the state, we went to Brevard County. I worked for Gannett Papers, and I did columns for Florida Today. And then we moved over here. I worked for what was in the St. Petersburg Times, and I had a column. I love doing that. And I always wanted to write a book, right? And I always joke that I said I wanted to write a book before I was 40, and I should have been more specific, because I ended up writing an allergy book. It's like, okay, that's not really where I wanted to go.
Wasn't the great American novel.
It was okay. It was a start. And then I ended up writing, the last 2 that I did were about maker spaces in libraries, and are actually used as textbooks.
I was going to say, they seem to have blown up. I was doing some research, and those books have become part of curriculum.
Yeah, they are. So they're actually used in information sciences and library sciences studies.
How does that
So
feel?
it's like, it's very cool. I didn't want to
Yeah.
write a textbook though, but I'm glad they're using it. I'm glad they like it. So, I mean, your life takes these interesting trajectories, right? And we have these conversations with the kids all the time. It's like you never arrive anywhere. Right? I think kids are misled a lot into, it's like you pick your field, you go and you become an engineer, you become a business person. That's not, you don't stop there, right? If you're doing it right, you keep discovering new things and wanting to do new things. And the more you know and the more capable you are, the better you can pivot in your life. And being able to pivot is important for being able to survive. So I think that, it's all connected.
Oh, that just made me laugh there. I was a hairstylist who went to film school because I wanted to do hair and makeup.
Yeah.
And then I fell in love with directing and hosting and all that.
That's
I'm like,
fun,
so
yeah.
you just kind of find that you go where you need to go. And I
Yeah.
love that, again, that you guys are giving people that home.
Right.
So AMROC gets to do a lot of stuff. Is there something coming up that you talked about a little bit, that MakersCon?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about kind of the overall idea of it.
Yeah, so Gulf Coast MakerCon got its start over 10 years ago as Tampa Bay Mini Maker Fair. And so there's Orlando Maker Fair, there's Miami Maker Fair that comes out of the Make brand. And so we were licensed to do those for a few years. And it created extra layers of, it's great, I love maker fairs, but they created a little extra layers of bureaucracy and red tape and, doing everything branded properly. And it's like, well, it's a maker fest, and we just make our own. And we rebranded as Gulf Coast MakerCon probably in 2015 or 16, I think. And we've held it all over the place. We've held it in Pasco County. The very first one was held at UACDC, I believe in 2012. And then we've held it at the State Fairgrounds, and we've held it at SPC. A couple years ago, last year we held it here. We've held it at Mosey. This year we're holding it at the Yingling Draft House and Kitchen.
Oh
and
my,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
That is so many fun different places.
Yeah, and so the idea is that anything people make, anything they craft, anything that they create by hand, whether it's mechanical or wood or fabric or jewelry, it doesn't matter. It's a showcase for all things created, by
that
people.
DIY, that nature, and again, especially with social media, I think DIY kind of took over. It was such a big thing, and I love that. I love that you also talked a little bit about fabrics.
Yeah.
So it's not just robo arms that you guys are making.
No, we have a sewing center. Our sewing program at AMROC is one of the most popular programs we have.
Wow.
And it fills up on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. It's open sewing. It's a sewing social. We call it So Chill.
Is it just women?
It's a lot of women, but not only women. So we have several men that come in.
And I love that, again, because someone with a kid, how many times I'm like, oh, wow, those jeans that I could just sew myself, that I should probably be learning how to do it myself.
Yep, and again, at the agency, right, the more you can take care of yourself, whether it's patching your wall, hemming your clothes, patching things, building things, repairing things, all of that is empowering. And we need to be more empowered, so we can make better decisions, and so we feel like we have more agency in the world. So I think it's a bigger part of a bigger need.
Because I jokingly kind of mentioned like women in STEM to you, but what I love that you do is you put kids in STEM.
Yeah.
I think that's more important than just one gender, is putting these kids and knowing, put it into yourself. So you have the sewing there. Tell me about a little bit more kind of the branches or the little homes, the hubs that you have at AMROC.
And so it's interesting that you mentioned women in STEM. So the space is almost entirely women run. And so without having to emphasize women in STEM, the children in the program, boys and girls, are seeing women in administrative capacities, right? And so that's really the message we're trying to get across, right? That everybody can be exactly. And so in addition to the robotics and the sewing, we have an entrepreneurship program that's actually starting up next week again. It's a rolling enrollment. We do it about 4 times a year. It's called Equity and Entrepreneurship. And we've helped launch over 45 businesses in the last almost 5 years now. We've been doing this program with support from the Florida Business Development Corporation and Truist. And people from the community or super early stage come in and learn the basics of running a business. So it's about a 6-week program, and they get up to $1,000 seed funding at the end of the program. So it's really a great program. So that's one of our popular programs. We have a drone program. We have an adult drone meetup on Tuesday nights where you can just go fly. And you can bring your own drone, or you can fly one of ours. We have a youth drone team on Thursday nights. We have 2 middle and high school level robotics programs, and we just got a grant for an underwater robotics program. So we're doing land, sea, and air.
Wow, you are taking over.
Yeah, and then we have like arts programs, 3D printing, fabrication. People will come in. We work with the Tampa Bay Inventors Council, so some other members will come in and want prototyping. Other people have come in for prototyping, and we can help them affordably prototype ideas that they're creating or products that they're developing, and then the students can help with the design and fabrication of those things, so it also becomes a training program for them. So.
My goodness, it's just, it's such a full program.
Yeah.
It's such a full meal. How do you keep yourself together, to
well,
be honest?
Well, it's actually very collaborative, right?
Yeah.
So we don't do it by ourselves. So we have a lot of community partners. We work with TBCN. We work with Scoutlier, which helps which has an online platform that we use for our educational programs for assessments, for providing micro-credentials and things like that. We work with Innovative Academy, which is a workforce development program. We work with Career Source. We work with just USF. We work with a lot of USF departments, right? And so we do this collaboratively with a lot of different organizations. So sometimes we're supporting grants and programs that others need a space for at AMROC, and sometimes they're supporting us, but it's not something we do alone. And that's the whole point of the space, is that it's collaborative, and we're trying to create these spaces where people can come with their ideas, where we can all work together on them.
Is there any way we could help out? Is there any way the community can help out AMROC? I don't want to say donate down here kind of thing, but just in general,
people,
what can we do to help?
Money's great,
Yeah.
you know. People with expertise in the community who can come in and spend some time with youth and adults. So we're always looking for mentors for our entrepreneurship program. We're looking for mentors with the youth programs. People who want to do different projects, who have an idea for a youth program or something like that, we're happy to talk. We try to give people ownership over the different programs they want to do. So if you want to run a program, we're happy to talk to you and get an idea if it fits into our mission and goals. We're happy to consider it and look at hosting it at AMROC.
See, it's not just money, everyone.
No.
It is truly...
Money's great. I'm not going to ever turn down money.
Yes. But it's about, again, we need
Yeah.
the bodies. We need these people who want to help as well.
It's a community center, and so we need community in to help out in every
Have
part
you
of it.
felt like in the last couple of years, do you feel like it's uptick, low tick, you know,
It's gone up. I mean,
how is it?
awareness of our program has risen considerably. Partnering with other organizations helps raise that awareness, and you know, I think as people become, you know, realize that we're here, and it's hard in the small to find things. So word of mouth is a critical way of letting people know what we're doing. And then when we get out there to do events like Roboticon and MakerCon, you know, we want to raise, you know, people's familiarity with that we're here and what we do.
How long have you guys been in the mall for?
5 years now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So like right before that pandemic.
Yep,
well, actually, pandemic era.
We moved in.
Yeah.
We moved in. We opened to the public in 2019.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, what a great time!
Yeah,
to be
I
like,
was like,
hello
yay.
world, and now we're closed.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
And then given that was our start, the amount of programming that we do and the number of people we serve, which is probably 100 in-house and 1,000, you know, 1,500 or more annually through our programs and our outreach, is considerable. You know, it's a lot.
That's amazing. Is
Yeah.
there any dream projects you're cooking up? Is there something that you're like,
Yeah.
this is it?
Yeah.
Maybe
So
something
we're
you
looking
can share with us at least.
We're looking for a larger space and a space for the robotics center. And so right now our goal is to get the robotics center parked so that youth in the area have a place to practice and to build. It's also open to adult robotics, so we also do combat robotics for 3 pound and under.
I was going to talk, that's next.
Yeah. So we do the combat robotics, and if we could have a space for the robotics center, this could be a full-time tech sports venue, and it has enormous potential for being another destination type of experience in Tampa Bay, because I think tech sports are being overlooked as a critical component for tourism and for skill building and workforce development and career and manufacturing. So I think making that and emphasizing that tech sports experience is going to be a game changer for people.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about getting to have these robot battles. I've seen
They're
a little
they're
bit.
Fun. Yeah,
it's so fun, and but it's also so science. It's so still rooted in education. I love it. It's battling as it is, as much as it looks like Transformers.
But we actually do everything from fairy weight, which can be like little 3D printed. I've seen them made out of Altoid stents, right?
Wow.
And they just go in there and they beat each other up. But it's different from our other structured programs, because the First Tech Challenge and First Robotics Competition and the aerial drone competition programs, they all pretty much run on school year calendars. Combat robotics you can do as a family. Your kids can do it by themselves, and it runs on, it's like a hobby thing. It's like RC robotics, right? Or RC cars and hobby things like that. But like you said, all of the learning that goes into it is still critical STEM learning, where, you know, the revolutions that your weapon's going to go is as important to understand as it is for the revolutions on a motor for the other robotics programs. And the other thing about all of these things is the assessments. You're not sitting in a classroom, right? We're not sitting you through this thing. So you are learning why it's applied education. It's applied engineering. And your assessment is whether your robot does well, on the field or in the arena. And so the combat robotics we do is 3 pounds and under. What's cool about what that program is, our in-house competitors are in their 70s. And they were looking for something to do. And we actually kind of built a combat program around them. They were looking for something to do. And older people need agency too, right? There's I always wanted, they loved watching BattleBots. And it's like, can we do that? And it's like, yeah, it won't be as big, but we can do it. And so they do a 3 pound and under robot. Their Hammer of Thor. They will be competing at the Gulf Coast MakerCon event. Okay. And so, this is important for older people to be able to have opportunities to do things and make things as it is for younger people. And I think the combat robotics has very few rules, right? Like you're just staying within a weight class. Yeah. How you stay in that weight class is completely up to you. There are some rules about, you can't throw nets and you can't set things intentionally on fire, that kind of thing. But
I like the intentional on fire.
Intentionally on fire.
There will be fire.
There will be fire, yeah. But that whole idea is pretty much you just get in there and it's very simple, right? Yeah. It's a very simple way to test engineering designs. And it's fun.
No, I love the smile that you have right now. You get so just excited about it. And I know, it's so easy to talk about the giddy stuff. Tell me about some of the hardships, though. Is there anything you're running into recently or anything, let's not shake fists at politics,
money is always an issue, right? And our kids are like, we want to go to the World Championship in Houston. It's like, okay, they don't always get that it's going to cost a couple $1,000s per student to do this kind of a trip. So the first robotics competition program we run runs about $30,000 a year minimum to run that program. And because we're funded through a lot of different, each of our programs is funded through a lot of different supporters, we try to show the kids the budget. It's like, here's your budget. Here, every time you order something, it costs us. So we're trying to help them understand the business of running these programs. And they are expensive, right? Yeah. And so for the robotics programs, we could use more sponsors. And we do run short. And we just got we were just named a Lightning Community Hero. Yes. And so the funding from that is going to help fund a trailer. So we can have a mobile STEM center and transport the robots, right? But then it costs money to insure it and to license it and to maintain it and all those things. So money is still a challenge. That's a hard thing to do, and getting operational grants is especially difficult. Yeah. The grants always want to fund a program. It's like, okay, we have all the programs. I don't want to create any more programs. I want to fund the programs we have through operational support. So those kind of things I think are always the challenge. And then appropriate space, as we grow and try to do more, having a space that will adequately serve the types of programming that we do is extremely important.
Do you find that people understand what you guys are doing when you're trying to ask those grants or anything like that? Because sometimes you hear this nonprofit and they're like, we do this very specific niche thing, and they're like, no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to get them. We try to get people in as often as possible. Once they see it, they're like, oh. Yep. Trying to express it on paper. We do have some video. We need to try to make more videos and create
we have a great PSA that we made for you guys that
I
watched that before and I'm like,
that's really helpful. That's powerful. We use that a lot.
That's amazing. Because it even sold me because they were like, oh, I should tour it, which I will be touring AMROC
yes, good.
very, very soon. Now I'm like, I'm gonna get my little one over there. But I think that makes sense though, because it is hard to explain. Of like, we're making robotics and you're like, what exactly are you guys weird stuff where they're making the robot dog guy?
And what we're trying to help people understand is robots are part of what we do to make better people, right? And so what we're making is community. We're making agency. We're making empowerment. We're making workforce skills. We're making career readiness. And so those are the things we're actually making, and we're using all these creative tools to support that. Yeah, it's fun, and people walk in there and go, "This is amazing," and it is the only facility of its kind in Tampa Bay, and one of maybe 3 in Florida. Wow. Each one of them have slightly. There's a Fallhaber Fab Lab in Sarasota. There's Moonlighter in Miami. There's other maker spaces and things. There's Tampa Hackerspace here in Tampa as well. So there are these little pockets of these. They all have their own flavors. They all have their own ways that they build capacity and agency, but ours is unique in the scope of the programming that we do for youth robotics and things like that. So
yes, scope is something that I think when doing research on you, I did not realize the scope of what you do. Yeah. I was like, oh, the robot people. Oh no, the fabrics people. Oh, it was just so much, and not in a diminishing way, but you see AMROC, and you're like, this
Right.
is what I think it is.
Right.
And I love that you are continuously getting to surprise. Is there any more surprises you guys have up your sleeve? Is there something that, like maybe a dream for you that you see that you want to land on eventually?
I would really like to see the robotics center happen. The Tech Sports Center
Yeah.
is what we're calling it. I'd love to see that happen. I'm excited about our underwater robotics program because
I have questions about.
Yeah, I do too. We just got the grant, we got the kit, and we're actually working. And again, it's collaborative, right? So we're working with Brooks to Barlow High School, which has one of the top underwater robotics programs in the country. How many people know that? Right?
I couldn't even think about specific underwater robotics.
Yeah, and so it's a very sophisticated kind of programming. The electronics and everything you do obviously have to be able to work underwater, and so there's a lot of very specific educational program that goes with that. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so when Skynet goes live and we're in the Terminator era, I'm
sure.
coming to you.
Okay.
You know I'm coming
Well,
to AMROC.
we'll just be using because our kids know how to use tools, so we'll just be back there making huts and things. So we'll be fine.
Great, I love it. No, and I love
We got the taxidermy kids, so
the
we
taxidermy
have all the
kid.
food, you know.
But I love that, again, that joy that you have
Yeah.
for this. It seems like it's such a uplifting world for you. I love that you get to have the smiles and everything like that. Now, one last thing. Is there anything you want to say to our viewers at home? Anything you want to let them know about AMROC or anything?
Come see us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're there Tuesdays through Saturdays at the west end of University Mall. And we're open typically 11:30 to 7:30. We are an e-waste collection site, so one way that a lot of people come to find us is when they go drop off electronics. We work with eSmart Recycling, which collects our e-waste, and then we in turn get refurbished computers that we can supply as loaners and in our computer lab. And so come see us, come by, come check out Gulf Coast MakerCon on May 31st, and you'll get to meet a lot of our partners and see all the cool things that are going on and hopefully get inspired to do some cool things themselves.
Well, Terri, thank you so much for joining me today. Your joy and your passion for this just made my day so much better just hearing this. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you guys for watching us on The Grid at TBCN. We have so much more to talk about, so many more amazing guests like our guest Terri today. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure you guys tune in to the next episode.